In a distant corner of the universe where countless planets orbited suns of every color and size, humanity had always been seen as small and insignificant. The other advanced civilizations of the galaxy, mighty empires with towering warriors, dazzling technology and immense power, often dismissed Earth's people as weaklings who barely deserved a seat at the galactic table. But deep beneath the surface of Earth, something extraordinary was about to change everything. It all began in an ancient desert, miles away from any bustling city or modern settlement. A team of archaeologists, led by Dr. Elena Vega, was exploring ruins that had lain untouched for thousands of years. These ruins were once part of a forgotten civilization, buried under layers of sand and time. Elena, a brilliant scientist with sharp eyes and boundless curiosity, had dedicated her life to uncovering secrets hidden in the past. She believed that history held answers, not just for humanity but for the entire galaxy. The dig site was hot and dusty, the kind of place where even breathing felt like work. Workers moved carefully, brushing away dirt and debris while machines hummed softly in the background. Suddenly, one of the younger members of the team shouted, "Dr. Vega, I need to see this." His voice carried both excitement and disbelief. Elena hurried over, her boots crunching against the dry ground. What she saw took her breath away. Beneath the rubble lay a strange object, a glowing sphere, perfectly round and pulsating with soft golden light. It seemed almost alive, vibrating faintly as if it were breathing. Its surface shimmered, reflecting images that no one could explain. Swirling galaxies, alien creatures, and symbols written in languages no human had ever seen. "What is this?" whispered Elena, reaching out hesitantly. Her fingers hovered above the sphere, unsure whether to touch it. Something about the object felt powerful, otherworldly. It wasn't just a relic, it was something far greater. News of the discovery spread quickly. Within hours, scientists, reporters, and government officials descended upon the site. Everyone wanted to know what the sphere was and why it had been buried on Earth. Some speculated it was a weapon left behind by an ancient race. Others thought it might be a map leading to untold riches somewhere in the stars. No one knew for sure, but everyone agreed on one thing. Whatever the sphere was, it was important. Word of the artifact didn't stay confined to Earth for long. Signals sent into space by curious astronomers reached nearby star systems, alerting neighboring civilizations. Before long, ships from across the galaxy arrived in Earth's orbit, their massive forms casting shadows over cities below. Alien, diplomats, warriors, and scholars came down to the planet, eager to examine the mysterious object themselves. Among these visitors was Zarnak, a towering figure clad in gleaming armor. He represented the Krill Empire, a brutal and militaristic society known for its dominance over weaker species. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, with muscles rippling beneath his metallic suit, Zarnak exuded authority. His piercing red eyes scanned the humans around him, clearly unimpressed. To him, Earth's inhabitants were nothing more than fragile insects standing in the way of something far greater. "This belongs to us," Zarnak declared without hesitation, his deep voice echoing through the makeshift tent erected over the dig site. "The Krill Empire has claimed many treasures throughout the galaxy. This will be no different." But to everyone's surprise, the humans refused to back down. Elena stepped forward, her slight frame dwarfed by Zarnak's imposing presence. Yet there was fire in her eyes, determination etched onto her face. "This sphere was found on our planet," she said firmly. "We have every right to study it before deciding what happens next," Zarnak sneered, baring sharp teeth. "Study? Your kind lacks the intelligence to comprehend such things. Hand it over, or we will take it by force." Tension crackled in the air like static electricity. Soldiers from both sides exchanged wary glances, hands hovering near weapons. For a moment it seemed violence would erupt, but then another voice cut through the tension. "Perhaps there's another way," suggested Captain Marcus Kane, a decorated military officer who had joined Elena's team. Tall and broad-shouldered, Marcus radiated calm confidence. "If you believe your empire deserves the sphere, prove it. Let us settle this fairly." Zarnak tilted his head, intrigued despite himself. Fairly? Explain. Marcus continued. We propose a series of trials. Physical strength, mental agility, strategy, all qualities valued by your empire. If you win, the sphere is yours. But if we prevail, you leave it in our care. For a long moment, Zarnak studied Marcus, weighing the proposal. Finally, he nodded. Very well. We accept your challenge. But do not think we will go easy on you simply because you are human. As the crowd dispersed, Elena turned to Marcus, concern flickering in her gaze. Do you really think we can compete against someone like him? Marcus placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We don't have a choice. And besides, strength isn't always measured in size or weapons. Sometimes it's about how smart you are, and how willing you are to fight for what matters. Over the next few days, preparations for the trials began. The Krill set up arenas and obstacles designed to test every aspect of a contestant's abilities. Other alien factions gathered to watch, eager to see how the tiny humans would fare against one of the galaxy's most fearsome races. Whispers filled the air as spectators debated the outcome. Few gave humanity much of a chance. Meanwhile, Elena spent hours studying the sphere whenever she could. Though it remained largely incomprehensible, she noticed patterns in the symbols, reflected on its surface. They seemed to tell a story, one of balance, cooperation, and resilience. One phrase kept appearing again and again. The ones who sit at the back. Elena puzzled over its meaning, sensing it held significance beyond what anyone realized. On the eve of the first trial, Elena and Marcus stood together outside their tent, gazing up at the night sky. Stars twinkled overhead, each one representing a world teeming with life. For centuries, humanity had looked to those stars with wonder and longing. Now, they were being thrust into the spotlight, forced to prove themselves worthy of attention. Do you think we can do this? Elena asked quietly, breaking the silence. Marcus smiled. I don't know. But I do know one thing. We're not giving up without a fight. Little did they realize their journey was only beginning. The sphere had awakened something in the galaxy, drawing attention not just from the Krill, but from countless others who sensed its potential. As the trials loomed ahead, humanity's true strength would soon be revealed. Not in brute force or flashy displays, but in qualities often overlooked by those who judged them too quickly. And perhaps, just perhaps, the galaxy would finally understand why humans preferred to sit at the back. The morning of the first trial dawned bright and tense. The air buzzed with anticipation as spectators gathered around the arena, a sprawling labyrinth carved into the desert sands by the Krill Empire. Towering walls made of shimmering metal stretched high into the sky, their surfaces etched with intricate patterns that seemed to shift when you looked at them too long. Inside the maze, traps and obstacles awaited the contestants, designed to test not just physical strength but also intelligence, adaptability, and teamwork. Elena Vega and Captain Marcus Kane stood side by side at the entrance, their faces calm, despite the weight of what lay ahead. Around them, representatives from other alien races prepared for the challenge. Some were massive beings with claws sharp enough to cut through steel. Others floated gracefully above the ground, their translucent bodies glowing faintly. Each participant carried an aura of confidence except for Elena and Marcus. They didn't boast or posturing like the rest, they simply observed, taking in every detail. Zarnak, the towering Krill warrior diplomat, approached them before the trial began. His red eyes gleamed with amusement as he addressed Elena. You think your fragile bodies can endure what lies within? This is no place for weaklings. Elena met his gaze without flinching. Strength isn't always measured by size, she replied evenly. Let's see who makes it out first. With a low chuckle, Zarnak stepped back, signaling the start of the trial. A loud horn blared across the arena, and the gates swung open. Contestants rushed forward, disappearing into the twisting corridors of the labyrinth. From the very beginning, it was clear that brute force alone wouldn't guarantee success. The first obstacle came almost immediately. A narrow bridge suspended, over a pit filled with jagged spikes. Most competitors charged ahead recklessly, relying on sheer speed or advanced technology to cross. Many failed. One hulking alien slipped off the edge, his roar echoing as he plummeted into the darkness below. Another contestant used a levitation device to float across, only to trigger a hidden mechanism that sent a wall of flame erupting behind him, cutting off any chance of retreat. Elena and Marcus moved cautiously, studying the structure of the bridge before stepping onto it. "Look for symmetry," Elena whispered, pointing out subtle marks on the metal planks. "These aren't random. They're part of a pattern." Together, they identified safe spots to step, avoiding sections rigged to collapse. Their careful approach earned them murmurs of disbelief from nearby aliens, who had assumed humans would crumble under pressure. As they progressed deeper into the maze, the challenges grew more complex. In one chamber, glowing symbols appeared on the walls, shifting rapidly in a sequence that defied logic. Competitors scrambled to memorize the patterns, pressing buttons corresponding to each symbol. Those who guessed wrong triggered traps. Walls closing in, floors collapsing, or bursts of energy knocking them unconscious. Elena, however, recognized something familiar in the symbols. They resembled fragments of the language she'd seen reflected on the sphere. "Marcus, wait," she called, pulling him back just as another competitor pressed the wrong button and vanished into a trapdoor. "It's not about memory. It's about rhythm. Listen to the hum of the symbols." Sure enough, when they focused on the faint vibrations emanating from the walls, they discerned a musical pattern. Following the rhythm, they navigated the puzzle flawlessly, leaving stunned rivals in their wake. Meanwhile, Zarnak barreled through the labyrinth with raw power, smashing through barriers and ignoring subtleties entirely. He left destruction in his wake, forcing weaker contestants aside as he pushed forward. Yet even he encountered moments where brawn wasn't enough. At one point, he found himself trapped in a room with walls slowly closing in. No amount of strength could stop them, so he resorted to solving a riddle inscribed on the ceiling. Though frustrated, he managed to decipher the answer just in time, slipping through the shrinking gap with seconds to spare. Back outside the maze, spectators watched the unfolding drama on giant holographic screens. Gasps rippled through the crowd as Elena and Marcus continued to excel, using ingenuity rather than force to overcome obstacles. Even Zarnak couldn't help but glance at them occasionally, his expression unreadable. In the final stretch of the trial, the remaining contestants faced their greatest challenge yet, a darkened corridor filled with illusions. As they stepped, inside, the wall shifted, creating endless reflections of themselves. Voices whispered from the shadows, sowing doubt and fear. Some competitors froze, overwhelmed by visions of failure or loss. Others turned on each other, convinced the reflections were enemies. Elena and Marcus linked arms, grounding themselves in reality. "Stay close," Marcus said firmly. "Don't trust anything you see. Focus on me, and keep moving." Their bond proved unbreakable. While others faltered, they pressed onward, refusing to let the illusions distract them. When they finally emerged from the corridor, blinking in the bright sunlight, cheers erupted from the crowd. Against all odds, humanity had completed the trial, not the fastest, but certainly the most impressive performance anyone had witnessed. Zarnak was among the last to exit the labyrinth, his armor scorched and dented from repeated clashes with the maze's defenses. He strode directly toward Elena and Marcus, his expression unreadable. For a moment, it seemed he might lash out in frustration. Instead, he spoke quietly, though his words carried weight. "You are unexpected," he admitted grudgingly. "Most species rely on either brute force or superior technology. You use neither. How?" Elena hesitated, then answered honestly. "We observe, we learn, and we adapt. That's how humans survive." Zarnak studied her for a long moment, his piercing gaze searching for deception. Finding none, he nodded curtly. "Very well, but there are 2 more trials. Do not assume this victory means you will succeed again." As the crowd dispersed, Elena and Marcus retreated to their tent, exhausted but triumphant. Despite their success, they knew the hardest parts were yet to come. Still, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that the sphere held answers that might guide them through whatever lay ahead. That evening, she returned to the artifact, running her fingers gently over its glowing surface. New images flickered to life. Scenes of cooperation between different species, planets thriving under shared stewardship, and a recurring motif of balance. Once again, the phrase, "the ones who sit at the back," appeared, now accompanied by a vision of humanity watching silently while others took center stage. "What does it mean?" Marcus asked, joining her. "Why do you think it keeps showing us that?" Elena shook her head, her brow furrowed in thought. "I'm not sure yet, but I think it's trying to tell us something important. Something about why we've always stayed quiet, and why that might actually be our greatest strength." As the stars twinkled overhead, casting soft light over the camp, Elena felt a renewed sense of purpose. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for centuries, writing them off as insignificant. But now, with the sphere's guidance and their own resilience, they were proving that sometimes, sitting at the back gave you the clearest view of the bigger picture. And maybe, just maybe, that perspective was exactly what the galaxy needed. The second trial took place aboard a massive neutral space station orbiting a distant star. Known as the Galactic Arena, it was a colossal structure designed to host events that brought together species from across the universe. Its interior gleamed with polished metal and glowing panels, creating an atmosphere both awe-inspiring and intimidating. For this challenge, contestants would face off against holographic simulations of legendary warriors from various alien races. Each opponent embodied unique abilities and combat styles, forcing participants to think quickly and adapt constantly. Elena Vega and Captain Marcus Kane stood side by side in the arena's preparation chamber, studying holograms of their upcoming adversaries. The images depicted towering beasts with razor-sharp claws, swift creatures capable of phasing through walls, and even sentient clouds that could manipulate energy fields. It was clear that brute force alone wouldn't be enough to win. "This is going to be harder than the maze," Marcus muttered, cracking his knuckles nervously. "These aren't just obstacles, they're fighters." Elena nodded, her sharp eyes scanning the data displayed on a nearby screen. "We'll need more than strength here. We'll have to outsmart them." As they prepared, Zarnak entered the room, his armor freshly repaired after the first trial. He glanced at the humans briefly before focusing on his own preparations. Despite his earlier acknowledgement of their skill, he still radiated confidence, as if certain no human could match his prowess. When the time came, all remaining contestants gathered in the center of the arena. A booming voice echoed through the chamber, announcing the rules. Each participant would fight 3 holographic opponents in succession. Failure to defeat any one of them meant elimination. Spectators filled the stands above, their cheers and jeers blending into a cacophony of noise. The first round began and chaos erupted. One by one, contestants stepped forward to face their holographic foes. Many relied purely on physical might or advanced weaponry, only to find themselves overwhelmed by the agility and unpredictability of their opponents. A burly alien, wielding twin axes, charged at his hologram, only for it to vanish mid-swing and reappear behind him, delivering a devastating blow. Another contestant unleashed a barrage of laser fire, but the hologram dodged effortlessly, countering with a burst of energy that sent the attacker sprawling. When Elena and Marcus's turn arrived, they exchanged a quick glance. They had already decided on a strategy: teamwork. As the hologram materialized, a sleek, feline-like creature with shimmering fur and retractable blades, they moved in perfect synchronization. While Marcus drew its attention with feints and strikes, Elena circled around, analyzing its movements for weaknesses. When the creature lunged at Marcus, she struck from behind, disabling its blade mechanism with a well-placed pulse weapon. Together they subdued the hologram within minutes, earning astonished murmurs from the crowd. Their second opponent proved even trickier, a floating orb capable of generating shields and firing concentrated beams of energy. Most competitors struggled to penetrate its defenses, growing frustrated as their attacks bounced harmlessly off its barrier. Elena, however, noticed something others missed. The orb's shield flickered slightly whenever it fired. Timing her shots carefully, she exploited these brief vulnerabilities while Marcus kept the orb distracted with calculated maneuvers. Once again, they emerged victorious, leaving rival factions shaking their heads in disbelief. By the time the third hologram appeared, a towering multi-limbed monstrosity armed with crushing appendages, Elena and Marcus had gained momentum. Instead of panicking, they remained calm, communicating silently through gestures and expressions. They identified patterns in the creature's attacks, using its size against it by staying mobile and striking at exposed joints. When the final blow landed, the hologram dissolved into sparks and the arena erupted in applause. Zarnak watched their performance with growing unease. Though he excelled in raw power, dispatching his opponents with brutal efficiency, he couldn't help but admire the human's ingenuity. Where others resorted to predictable tactics, Elena and Marcus adapted seamlessly, turning disadvantages into opportunities. It was a style of combat he hadn't encountered before, one rooted not in domination but in cooperation. After the round ended, Zarnak approached them during a brief break. His tone was less confrontational than usual, tinged with curiosity. "You fight differently," he observed. "Why do you rely so much on each other?" Marcus shrugged. "Because we're stronger together. Alone we're good. Together we're unstoppable." Elena added, "It's how humanity survives. We don't try to go it alone. We support each other." Zarnak fell silent, his gaze distant. For a warrior accustomed to relying solely on his own strength, the idea of depending on someone else felt foreign. Yet there was wisdom in their words, a lesson he wasn't ready to fully grasp just yet. The final round saw the competition dwindle as fewer contestants managed to overcome the relentless holograms. By the end, only 4 teams remained. Elena and Marcus representing humanity, Zarnak standing alone for the Krill Empire, a pair of insectoid twins from the Zix Collective, and a lone telepathic being known as Vera, whose mind-controlled constructs gave her an edge. For the grand finale, the arena transformed into a free-for-all battleground. All remaining contestants faced each other alongside their toughest holographic opponents, simultaneously. The objective was simple: survive longer than anyone else. Chaos ensued as holograms clashed with real fighters, creating a maelstrom of light, sound, and motion. Elena and Marcus stuck to their strategy, working in tandem to neutralize threats. They coordinated perfectly, anticipating each other's moves without needing to speak. When Zarnak charged toward them, intending to eliminate them personally, they split apart, forcing him to choose a target. Distracted, he failed to notice a holographic predator sneaking up behind him until it was too late. Though Zarnak managed to recover, the incident cost him valuable time. Meanwhile, the insectoid twins worked in eerie harmony, their segmented bodies moving like clockwork. Their precision was impressive, but they lacked flexibility, struggling when unexpected variables arose. Vera, on the other hand, used her psychic powers to manipulate both holograms and contestants alike, sowing confusion among her rivals. But her overconfidence became her downfall when she underestimated Elena's keen observation skills. Spotting a flaw in Vera's mental barriers, Elena disrupted her concentration with a targeted EMP device, causing her constructs to collapse. The battle raged on. It became clear that Elena and Marcus were the most resilient duo left standing. Even Zarnak, battered and exhausted, couldn't deny their effectiveness. When the final horn sounded, signaling the end of the trial, the humans emerged victorious, not because they defeated everyone outright, but because they endured longer than anyone else. Back in their quarters later that evening, Elena and Marcus reflected on their performance. Though proud of their success, they knew the trials weren't just about winning. Something deeper was at play, hinted at by the mysterious sphere. "I think the sphere is trying to teach us something," Elena said thoughtfully, gazing at the artifact resting on a pedestal. "Every trial has been about balance, strength versus strategy, Individual effort versus teamwork. Maybe that's why it chose Earth. Marcus raised an eyebrow. You think it picked us specifically? It's possible, Elena replied. Humans have always been observers, learning from others instead of trying to dominate. That's what the ones who sit at the back means. It's about perspective, about seeing the whole picture before acting. Her words resonated deeply, hinting at truths that extended far beyond the arena. As they prepared for the final trial, Elena and Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for centuries, dismissing them as weak or irrelevant. But now, with the sphere guiding them, they were proving that sometimes sitting quietly at the back gave you the clearest view of the path forward. And perhaps, just perhaps, the galaxy needed exactly that kind of leadership. The final trial loomed over the galaxy like a storm cloud, charged with anticipation and uncertainty. After 2 grueling challenges that had tested strength, strategy, and adaptability, only a handful of contestants remained. Elena Vega and Captain Marcus Kane stood shoulder to shoulder once again, their determination unwavering despite the mounting pressure. Zarnak, the towering Krill warrior, still exuded confidence, though his earlier arrogance had softened into something resembling respect. The insectoid twins from the Zix collective moved with mechanical precision, while Vera, the telepathic being, floated silently, her glowing form radiating an eerie calm. This time, the challenge was unlike anything they had faced before. It wasn't about individual combat or navigating dangerous obstacles. Instead, they were tasked with solving a cosmic puzzle, one that required cooperation between all remaining teams. The goal was simple, yet daunting. Activate a dormant starship, scattered across multiple dimensions. Each team would retrieve a piece of the ship, but assembling it demanded trust, coordination, and unity, qualities that many of the competitors lacked. The trial began in a vast chamber aboard the neutral space station, its walls shimmering, with portals leading to different dimensions. A holographic projection of the starship hovered above them, broken into 5 distinct components. Each fragment glowed faintly, pulsating as if alive. Contestants were instructed to step through designated portals to retrieve their assigned pieces. Once collected, the fragments would need to be brought back and assembled within a limited time frame. Failure to complete the task meant elimination and forfeiture of any claim to the mysterious sphere. As the countdown began, tension crackled in the air. Teams rushed toward their respective portals, eager to secure their parts of the ship. Elena and Marcus entered theirs cautiously, finding themselves in a surreal dimension filled with floating islands and streams of liquid light. The fragment they sought rested atop a jagged rock formation, guarded by strange, shadowy creatures that darted around unpredictably. While others might have charged ahead recklessly, Elena and Marcus took a moment to observe. These things react to sudden movements, Elena whispered, watching as one creature lunged at a stray beam of light. We'll need to distract them. Marcus nodded, grabbing a small device from his belt. He activated it, creating a low-frequency hum that drew the creature's attention. As they swarmed toward the noise, Elena sprinted toward the fragment, snatching it just as the creatures realized the deception. With quick thinking and flawless teamwork, they escaped the dimension unscathed. Meanwhile, Zarnak bulldozed through his own portal, emerging in a fiery landscape dominated by rivers of molten lava. His brute strength allowed him to overpower the environmental hazards, but he struggled when confronted with a riddle inscribed on the pedestal. Holding his fragment, frustrated, he eventually deciphered the answer, though not without sustaining minor burns from the scorching heat. The insectoid twins navigated their dimension with cold efficiency, their segmented bodies moving in perfect harmony. However, their lack of creativity became apparent when they encountered a barrier requiring emotional input, a concept alien to their logical minds. They managed to bypass it using raw persistence, but the delay cost them precious time. Vera, on the other hand, seemed to thrive in her ethereal realm. Her psychic abilities allowed her to manipulate the environment effortlessly, retrieving her fragment with ease. Yet even she couldn't ignore the growing sense of unease spreading among the participants. This trial wasn't just about collecting pieces. It was about working together to assemble them, a prospect that filled some with dread. Back in the central chamber, the teams reunited, each clutching their respective fragments. The hologram of the starship now pulsed brighter, urging them to begin assembly. But instead of cooperation, chaos erupted. Rival factions argued over who should take charge, their egos clashing like thunderclouds. Accusations flew as tempers flared, and attempts to fit the fragments together devolved into squabbles. Elena and Marcus exchanged a glance, silently agreeing on a course of action. Ignoring the commotion, they focused on the task at hand. Using clues etched onto the fragments themselves, they identified matching patterns and began piecing the ship together. Their quiet efficiency drew the attention of the others, though. Not everyone appreciated their initiative. "You think you can lead us?" snapped one of the insectoid twins, its voice a series of clicks and hisses. "Step aside." "No," Elena replied firmly. "If we don't work together, none of us will succeed." Her words cut through the discord, silencing the room momentarily. Reluctantly, the others joined in, following Elena's guidance. Piece by piece, the starship began to take shape, its sleek design hinting at advanced technology far beyond anything most species had encountered. Yet as the final fragment clicked into place, something extraordinary happened. The sphere, which had been sitting quietly in the corner of the chamber, reacted violently. Its golden glow intensified, bathing the room in radiant light. Then, without warning, it emitted a blinding flash that enveloped everyone present. For a brief moment, time seemed to stand still. When the light faded, the contestants found themselves standing in a shared vision, a dreamscape that reflected their deepest fears and desires. Zarnak saw himself ruling the galaxy, his empire, stretching across countless worlds. At first, the image filled him with pride, but soon cracks appeared in his vision. His throne room was empty, devoid of allies or companions. The weight of absolute power left him isolated, hollow. Elena witnessed humanity rising to prominence not through aggression, but by fostering unity among disparate cultures. She saw Earth becoming a beacon of peace, a mediator for conflicts large and small. The vision filled her with hope, reinforcing her belief in humanity's quiet strength. Marcus experienced a world where humanity failed to adapt, succumbing to division and fear. Cities crumbled and stars dimmed as chaos consumed the galaxy. The sight shook him to his core, reminding him of what was truly at stake. Even the other contestants received glimpses tailored to their innermost thoughts. The insectoid twins saw their rigid society crumbling under the weight of its own logic, while Vera confronted the loneliness of her immense power. When the visions ended, the room fell silent, every participant visibly shaken. Zarnak was the first to speak, his voice quieter than usual. "What was that?" "It was the truth," Elena said softly. "The sphere showed us who we are and who we could become." Her words hung in the air, resonating deeply with those who heard them. Slowly, reluctantly, the other teams stepped back, acknowledging humanity's role in solving the puzzle. Though no formal declaration was made, it was clear that Elena and Marcus had earned the sphere, not through force or manipulation, but through understanding. As the trial concluded, Zarnak approached them, his expression unreadable. For a long moment he simply stared at the sphere, its gentle hum filling the silence. Then with a nod he spoke. "You are not what I expected," he admitted. "Perhaps your way, the way of observation and balance, is stronger than I realized." With that, the Krill Empire withdrew its claim on the sphere, urging others to do the same. The artifact remained in humanity's care, entrusted to those who had proven capable of wielding its knowledge responsibly. And so, humanity's journey continued, not as conquerors or rulers, but as observers, learners, and guides. The galaxy finally understood why humans preferred to sit at the back. From that vantage point, they could see the bigger picture, offering wisdom and perspective when it mattered most. The aftermath of the final trial rippled across the galaxy like a wave. carrying with it whispers of humanity's unexpected triumph. For centuries, Earth had been viewed as a minor player in the grand tapestry of interstellar politics, a planet teeming with fragile beings who preferred to stay out of the spotlight. But now, thanks to Elena Vega and Captain Marcus Kane, humanity stood at the center of galactic attention, not because they sought dominance, but because they had demonstrated qualities often overlooked: patience, observation, and unity. Zarnak, the towering Krill warrior diplomat, was among the first to acknowledge this shift. Though his pride still stung from being bested by humans, he recognized the deeper lesson the trials had imparted. Strength wasn't just about brute force or advanced technology. It was about understanding when to act and when to step back. As he prepared to leave Earth's orbit aboard his massive starship, he paused one last time to address Elena and Marcus. "You have earned my respect," Zarnak said, his deep voice steady. "Not through conquest, but through wisdom. Perhaps your kind has more to teach us than we realized." Elena nodded gratefully, her sharp eyes reflecting both humility and resolve. "We don't claim to have all the answers," she replied. "But if we can help others see the value in cooperation over conflict, then maybe the galaxy will be better for it." With that, Zarnak departed, leaving behind a changed man and a ripple effect that would soon spread throughout the Krill Empire. Other alien factions followed suit, withdrawing their claims on the sphere and expressing cautious admiration for humanity's approach. Vera, the telepathic being, lingered longer than most, her glowing form shimmering faintly in the dim light. "You remind me of something I once forgot," Vera murmured cryptically before vanishing into thin air. Her words echoed in Elena's mind long after she was gone, a reminder that even the most powerful beings sometimes lose sight of what truly matters. Back on Earth, news of the trials reached every corner of the globe. People gathered around screens, watching footage of Elena and Marcus navigating the labyrinth, battling holograms, and assembling the starship. Their success wasn't just a personal victory, it was a testament to humanity's potential. For too long, Earth's inhabitants had doubted themselves, assuming they were weaker or less capable than their galactic neighbors. Now they saw proof that their unique strengths could make a difference. Governments convened emergency meetings to discuss how best to handle the newfound responsibility entrusted to them. The sphere, which continued to hum softly in its secure chamber, represented not just power but knowledge that could either unite or divide the galaxy depending on how it was used. Elena and Marcus became advisors, sharing their insights with world leaders while cautioning against hasty decisions. "This isn't ours alone," Elena emphasized during a press conference. "It belongs to everyone. Our job is to ensure it's used wisely, for the benefit of all species, not just humanity." Her words resonated deeply, sparking conversations about Earth's role in the cosmos. Some argued that humanity should assert itself more boldly, taking a leadership position in galactic affairs. Others believed they should continue observing quietly, offering guidance without imposing their will. In the end, a compromise emerged. Humanity would serve as mediators, fostering dialogue between warring factions and promoting peace wherever possible. As weeks turned into months, the sphere revealed more of its secrets. Under Elena's careful study, fragments of its language began to coalesce into coherent messages. One phrase appeared repeatedly: "Balance is strength." It seemed to encapsulate everything the artifact stood for, a reminder that true power came not from domination, but from harmony. The sphere also contained blueprints for technologies far beyond anything humanity had ever imagined, including sustainable energy sources, medical advancements, and methods for terraforming barren planets. But perhaps the most profound revelation came when Elena deciphered the meaning behind the enigmatic phrase, "the ones who sit at the back." According to the sphere, every civilization played a role in maintaining the galaxy's delicate ecosystem. Some excelled at exploration, others at innovation, and still others at warfare. Humanity's gift lay in observation, the ability to step back, analyze situations objectively, and guide others toward solutions without succumbing to ego or greed. It's why we've always been underestimated, Marcus said one evening, gazing up at the stars alongside Elena. We don't shout the loudest or flex our muscles the hardest. We watch, we listen, and we learn. And when the time comes, we act, not for ourselves, but for the greater good. Elena smiled, feeling a sense of fulfillment she hadn't known she'd been searching for. Maybe that's why the sphere chose us. Not because we're perfect, but because we understand the importance of balance. Years passed, and humanity's influence in the galaxy grew. Not through conquest, but through quiet diplomacy. Earth became a hub for interstellar negotiations, hosting summits where rival factions came together to resolve disputes. Elena and Marcus remained at the forefront of these efforts, their bond stronger than ever. Together they traveled across the stars, meeting new species, learning their stories, and finding ways to bridge divides. The sphere, now housed in a specially designed observatory, continued to whisper its secrets. Its golden glow served as a beacon, drawing curious minds from across the universe. Visitors marveled at its beauty and complexity, leaving with fresh perspectives on life, power, and purpose. Many returned home inspired to rethink their own roles in the cosmic order. For all the changes it brought, however, the sphere never lost its mystique. It remained an enigma, a symbol of hope and possibility. Those who studied it came to realize that its true message extended beyond technology or strategy. It was a call to embrace diversity, celebrate differences, and work together toward a brighter future. One day, as Elena stood before the sphere, she felt a familiar warmth emanating from its surface. Images flickered within its depths, scenes of galaxies colliding, civilizations rising and falling, and countless beings striving to find their place in the vastness of space. She placed a hand gently against it, feeling a connection that transcended words. "Thank you," she whispered, though she wasn't sure who or what she was thanking. Behind her, Marcus approached, his presence grounding her as always. "What did it show you?" he asked softly. Elena turned to him, her expression serene. "Everything and nothing. It reminded me that the journey is never ending. There's always more to learn, more to understand." Marcus nodded, understanding perfectly. "Then let's keep going. Together." Hand in hand, they walked away from the sphere, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Humanity had proven itself worthy of the artifact's trust, not by seeking glory or riches, but by embodying the values it represented. They had shown the galaxy that sitting at the back wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a choice, a perspective, a way of seeing the bigger picture. And so, as the stars twinkled above and ships zipped across the heavens, humanity took its rightful place among the stars, not as rulers but as guardians, observers, guides, the ones who sat at the back, watching silently until the moment arrived to lead, not with force, but with wisdom.